The following program is sponsored by Capitec. Simplify banking, live better.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the Insider SA, your guide to living better. Join us today as we open up to living braver and celebrate the Olympics. Meet our first ever Olympic surfer, Bianca Baitendag. Learn about Blitzbok Ruhan Nel's creative side. Hang out with rock climbers Cosser and Erin Sterkenburg. See how Veldskoene have been made the official off-field shoe of our national teams. Find out how Mzansi's water polo teams are looking to make an impact. And take to the seas on a beautiful yachting experience. Growing up near False Bay in Cape Town, professional surfer Bianca Baitendag was raised on the water. This year, she'll be representing us at the Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo.
Every time I walk in here, I just glimpse at the board and I know if it's like more than 6 lines, I'm gonna die. I usually end up like lying on the floor for a good 5 minutes after every training, so that'll probably be the case today. Today we've got, on our schedule for training, we've got 5 rounds of 7 exercises. Jan and his team try and incorporate a gymnastic movement, some cardio and weights into every session. So I'm not so keen on the weights. I try and keep them as low as possible, but the gymnastic movements and the cardio I really enjoy. Hopefully he'll take it easy on the weights and we'll be able to do more gymnastics today. So yeah, a physical exercise, I never really paid too much attention to it in my career, maybe because I felt like surfing was more of an intuitive sport and I relied heavily on talent. But I obtained a lower back injury where that philosophy kind of came to an end. And I remember walking in here in the front door, not being able to tie my shoelaces because my back was so sore. And Jan is a biokineticist, so he's got a lot of knowledge. He felt really comfortable. He knew what he was talking about. It was just major improvement from that point forth. I haven't felt any discomfort in my back ever since then, so it's a good sign.
A biokineticist by profession with experience in sports conditioning, Jan Fourie wants to make sure Bianca has the strength required to perform to the best of her ability.
I think people have that perception that when there's a specialist in a certain sport that they have to come and do those kind of movements in the gym as well. But remember, surfing is a dominant sport where you use your dominant side. You stand in one position, so they do develop imbalances in their sport. So when she comes to the gym, we have to make sure that we correct those imbalances. So she's really doing traditional functional fitness movements, Olympic weightlifting, gymnastics, high intensity interval, metabolic training. So it's the stuff that you will find in the gym. It's nothing specific to surfing. I think the biggest challenge for a coach and an athlete is to peak at the right time. When a big tournament or competition is coming up like the Olympics, you don't want to peak months before and then be fatigued or tired when the time comes for you to perform. So that's also something we take into consideration now, is to make sure that we've done the hard work, and now towards the competition we need to just maintain the intensity, maybe just come down a bit on the volume.
An unfortunate injury suffered by Geordie Smith means that Bianca is now the only surfer representing South Africa at this year's Games. So it's important she remains strong and focused.
The training that they encourage is functional movement. So it's just being able to adapt to any movement that you do in the day-to-day. So whether it's picking your kid up, whether it's carrying a heavy bag to work, whether it's driving all day and knowing how to step out of your car. So it's just functional movement in the day-to-day. Obviously, my day-to-day might look different to everyone else's, but the same kind of philosophy goes through.
Between the gym and the ocean, Bianca has her favorite spot where she goes to refuel.
I don't necessarily follow a strict eating plan. I try and eat healthy where possible. You know, the basics, the least amount of time and process from the ground to your plate. But I eat a lot, so having that available all the time is very difficult. And I really enjoy good food, so I won't compromise a treat or something that I'm used to. I know some people do get very particular with food, but I'm not one of them.
Okay, so this coffee shop's been here for about 12 years now. We love serving the local community of people that really enjoy the environment here, the garden route. And we're just really about good coffee, good food, and creating a lacquer space to work in. We're really all about being casual. So even our baristas, they don't even have a set uniform. We're really just about being comfortable, people just enjoying a space and having good coffee, a lot of casual vibes.
This coffee shop is my only chance of survival at this stage. Many people close to me know that I hate cooking. I get cookbooks every Christmas, but I have not opened them and I'm not planning to. So good eggs on toast will keep me at least for the beginning part of the day. So yeah, it's really close to gym. I come here straight afterwards and head to the ocean from here.
As South Africans, we are blessed to have some of the greatest surfing conditions in the world, which is why our beautiful coastlines have produced so many great surfers, like Bianca and her late father, Colin Baitendag.
I don't really remember starting to surf. I almost felt like I was born into it. Both my parents love the ocean. My late dad was a provincial surfer, so definitely played a role in what we were doing over weekends. No TV, we just ended up surfing for unhealthy amount of hours every day. And yeah, I would say that's where maybe my level of surfing grew quite exponentially. So I was born into it, didn't have much of a choice. So I will be taking 5 or 6 boards along with me. One of them is epoxy, so it's a different material that they use which creates more buoyancy, which will help because I'm the tallest surfer by far and the heaviest, if you can translate it that way. So it's going to be a challenge and I really need equipment to help me out.
A major consideration for competing surfers is the different conditions they will experience in Tokyo.
They're expecting taking in the season and I think the history of swell size into consideration. It's going to be very small and challenging in saying that and inconsistent. So half of our battle is the ocean and the other half is the competitors. So it will be challenging. In South Africa at the moment it's really hard to find similar conditions in which to practice in. But we've been going out of our way to like surf in the harbour or surf around the corner where the swell doesn't reach because we're very spoiled here. We have some of the best waves in the world. Representing South Africa in the Olympics as well as in my daily life is one of the biggest responsibilities and privileges that I can imagine. I mean, we come from such a diversity of cultures and languages and people, and it's just a dream come true and I can't wait.
Being among the first generation of Olympic surfers makes Bianca Baitendag a pioneer whose efforts will go down in history as having moved the sport forward, opening doors for future generations. Coming up, spend time with Springbok Sevens player Ruhan Nel and his friends and partner ahead of his trip to Tokyo. Ruhan Nel is among the squad that has been called up to compete for the South African national rugby sevens team, or Blitzbokke, at this year's Olympics. Spending time with him ahead of his trip to Tokyo, he told us more about the interests and passions that fuel his motivation.
So after school, the plan was initially to go study. And by trying so hard to make a professional rugby team, because I had a love for rugby, eventually that didn't happen, and I came to a point where I wanted to give up on rugby. And exactly at that point, the Lions actually offered me a contract, and that was my first exposure at 21 years old. So back in 2016, it was the first Olympic Games for sevens. I was part of the bigger squad, and then 6 weeks prior to that, we played in Paris, our last circuit tournament. And we played against New Zealand, and I actually heard my collarbone snap. It led to an operation, a plate, and obviously that forced me to miss 2016, the Olympics. The Olympics is something we've obviously been, watching from a very young age. It's the Olympics, it's the biggest sporting event in the world. So it's an achievement for, to go to the Olympics and hopefully win a medal. So, to be part of that group of players that can say, that I'm an Olympian or I went to the Olympics with the possibility of winning a medal, I think anybody would take that opportunity.
Prior to Sevens rugby being part of the 2016 Rio Games, rugby had not been included at the Olympics since the 1920s.
The majority of the time in the sevens camp, it is pretty high paced. You're actually becoming fitter even in your training. So even the training sessions it's tough. So it's basically just to make smart decisions under fatigue. 6 games over a weekend, which obviously is something that a 15s player won't be used to.
High performance director Murray Ingram has been working closely with the players to understand and enhance their abilities on the field.
I think with Ruhan in particular, the preparation really was predominantly around managing him playing 15s and 7s almost at the same time and just get him into tip-top shape, into peak physical condition. That was our starting point, and we worked on a couple of deficiencies with Ruhan, some of the niggles that he was carrying for quite a long time, and that's really what we always start with.
Aside from his passion for rugby, Ruhan also has an artistic side. Developing these skills has allowed him to combine what he enjoys doing.
I always had a love for design from a very young age. I always knew that I've probably 2 passions, playing sports or doing sports and design. So, whether it's drawing or being behind a camera and shooting some film, it's just always been part of me from a very young age. So I'm here at Old Friends Young Talent at Bianca Baitendag Studios, just to show them a couple of my designs and just maybe get a bit of feedback, just thoughts on some of my designs.
Bianca Baitendag is the creative director of an agency of industry experts who are passionate about developing fresh talent.
When I first met Ruhan, I was a little bit skeptical about his creative ability. It's seldom, if ever, do you find really top athletes with exceptional creative ability. But when I saw his portfolio and the work that he was delivering, I was really surprised by the quality of his creative. Not only from an executional point of view, but also from a conceptual point of view. There's a lot of thought that goes into the work. And he's also a self-starter and a self-driver, somebody that looks at his own work quite critically, which was refreshing for me to see. As somebody who hasn't actually applied his craft in a commercial industry, I think Ruhan has got a great ability and definitely something that he should pursue post his rugby career.
I've designed a logo for my personal brand. If you look at the logo, it's got the number 13 in as well. It's got, my friends know me as Ru, so it's got the word Ru in, obviously for Ruhan, and then it's just got the letter BU in as well. So I try to incorporate those 3 into the logo, which the message I just want to portray is, is just to be authentically you.
Creativity is very much like a muscle. I think I like that analogy with a sports star as well. It's something that you need to keep on doing over and over and keep practicing.
Someone who practices her craft on a daily basis is interior decorator Kate Ingram. Part of her impressive portfolio is the residence by Atzaru, who invited Ruhan and his wife Marley Nel for a special dinner before he leaves for Japan.
The Atzaru Group has an extensive portfolio all over the world. With the residence here in Cape Town, there is a heavy influence of Africa without it being in your face. They've brought in touches with natural textures, natural African textiles, beautiful Senegalese hats as wall decor, artwork from African artworks, beautiful lighting, locally made, a lot of natural wood throughout the house as well.
The ethos of the house is really to have 5-star facilities in a very relaxed atmosphere. The house lends itself towards a very calm feel, that you feel part of nature, but it gives you all the facilities that you need for a luxury holiday.
Friends and family are a big part for me, away from the sporting field. Today we're actually just here with friends. We're just going to spend a bit of time around the table, just catch up. Because it's times like these, especially in a busy schedule that we have, that you can actually just sit and enjoy each other's company and speak about things other than rugby and just break away from the pressures of sport.
And what better way to do this than over a delicious meal prepared by top chef Matt Manning. Matt trained under the likes of Gordon Ramsay at some of London's finest restaurants and is now back in South Africa and establishing himself as a private chef and restaurant owner.
We offer a range of services at the Chef Studio, one of them being a private chef service, where we come to your house and create a meal for you. So I'm here today cooking for Ruhan, for his friends and family, put together a 3-course meal. So the menu today, starting with canapes, we've got some venison tartare, some Blitzbokke that we got in from the Eastern Cape. Then we've got the Saldanha Bay oysters with a ponzu dressing and some marinated cucumber. Then the main course is our West Coast hake, pan roasted with some pearl barley, Jerusalem artichoke puree with some leeks and bacon and mussels. Then the dessert, we've got the lemon tart served with a honeycomb ice cream. So for the main course, I'm going to be getting Ruhan in the kitchen with me because one of the things we do at the Chef Studio is offer a interactive cooking class. So the fish dish, we've put together something for you that is high in protein. You've got to have a little bit of butter in there. And then squeeze the lemon into the pan. This is called a lemon beurre noisette, so a lemon nut brown butter sauce. Okay, so here's our garnish. What we're going to do is we're going to first create a base for the plate with our puree, the artichoke puree. We're going to take our beautiful garnish, taking some of that pearl barley, bacon, mussels, leeks all together, creating a nice base. Okay, so then our fish cooks very quickly, so we take it out of the pan, pop it on top. And then these are our artichoke chips, pop them on top, giving the dish a little bit of texture. And then we've got these beautiful Mizuna cresses. We're gonna go over the top, finishing with our leek and bacon sauce. And there you go. Nice. There's your main course.
Nice.
Magic.
Chef Matt has prepared us an awesome meal. You know, the fish, the mussels, it's got your source of protein, your carbs. So, you know, just being involved in the whole process, seeing how you made it, it's such a cool experience and we can't wait to get stuck in.
Sure, it's like very nice, wow.
As a determined competitor, Ruhan is goal-driven, with his sights set on achieving greatness in his rugby career.
So at this stage, my main focus has been for the last 4 years to try and make the Olympic squad and hopefully help Team South Africa to win that gold medal. After the Olympics, you know, who knows, I'll definitely be back in the 15-man code. The ambition is still there to wear the Springbok green and gold jersey, so that'll definitely be top of the list come post-Olympics. Beautiful spot, beautiful people, incredible food. What more can you ask for? So, cheers everyone.
Cheers. Cheers.
Yeah.
Here's wishing Ruhan Nel well in all his future endeavors, and to him and the rest of our Blitzbokke squad. Let's bring home the medals. Coming up, discover how rock climbing is taking off with Olympic hopefuls Chris Cosser and Erin Sterkenburg. Over the last 2 decades, the sport of rock climbing has been growing in popularity. This year sees a new milestone for the sport as it's been added into the Olympics, with 2 South Africans competing at this year's Games.
Tokyo Olympic Games is the first time that climbing actually features, and I think the Olympic Committee decided to broaden the appeal of the Games and adopt some newer sports, e.g. surfing, skateboarding and climbing. For the Tokyo Olympic Games, there is just one competition of climbing, but in effect it is what I call a triathlon. It is speed climbing, then you have bouldering, and the third discipline category is called lead climbing, which is where you climb 15 meters high with a rope until you fall off.
Bouldering requires physical and mental strength, as climbers have to choose the best route possible on a wall with a maximum height of 4 meters.
Okay, so this is our bouldering cave. The lower, the steeper, the better. And this is where you climb very steep stuff, and you climb almost like upside down. And this is pretty hard stuff, and you need to really have a lot of upper body strength to be able to be successful in this part of the climbing world.
All Olympic speed climbing walls are made to be identical, testing the speed of athletes on 15-meter walls. The world record for this event is currently a mind-blowing 5.208 seconds.
This is our Olympic speed wall, and we've got our gym manager, Chev, who's currently running up it. It's 15 meters, 5 degrees. He'll do it in about 15 seconds.
The Africa Cup women's and men's qualifiers were proudly held here at this gym, affording two South African climbers, 20-year-old Christopher Cosser and 17-year-old Erin Sterkenburg, the opportunity to qualify for the Olympics.
The field is really wide open because as a triathlon, you have certain athletes that are good at one of the three or two of the three, but very few are actually really good at all three. And I think our South African competitors have a pretty good chance, particularly Chris, because he really is a good all-round climber, and this particular format favors all-round climbers.
For his 12th birthday, Chris Cosser was gifted the movie Progression. The tale of the life of climbers overcoming their challenges started him on his journey into the sport.
I got into competition climbing in 2013, where I did my first provincial comp. And then throughout the years, it's just progressed to the international circuit from about 2019. And now here I am living overseas and doing my best to compete well. In the beginning of my youth climbing phase, I only climbed once to twice a week for maybe the first 3 to 4 years. And then since the end of high school, from about 2018, I've started to climb about 5 times a week, spending maybe 5 to 6 hours in the gym. And now it's just permanently thinking about climbing, watching climbing footage to try and progress my skills and get slightly better. It's a technique-based game. You got to really love it. You got to put your time and your heart into improving yourself. So you got to do it for the right reasons, and if you're doing it like that, it's easy to improve. The climbing community is a wonderful thing. Everybody is super friendly, super open. I've met some of the best people of all ages, ranging from 60 plus to teenagers. And everybody is just so motivated to really just test themselves and do something which we love.
Chris is fortunate to have the support and training of his coach in Johannesburg, Dane Bishop, who is excited about his students' progress.
I first met Christopher Cosser when he walked into these doors at City Rock, Johannesburg, as a really young climber, really enthusiastic, and he needed a bit of direction. I can't say I took him under my wing, but I just gave him a bit of direction on where to go. From there, we built from strength to strength. We've gone through from the hard times to the good times to eventually the really exciting times of him qualifying as an Olympic athlete, one of 20 athletes in the world to go to the Olympic Games. It was a really proud moment of any coach's career. We've been doing this and been working on it for many, many years. And before it was even decided to go be an Olympic Games, we were working to become the best of the best. And Christopher, I feel, is becoming one of those. He's not only one of 20 top climbers in the world, but he's going to eventually be the top climber in the world. And I believe that very much so.
Heading back to Salt Lake City, Utah, where Chris has been living and training, we get the opportunity to hear more about his exciting Olympic journey.
We've just gotten to the boulder and set up the pad system and just got everything ready. Now, just putting my shoes and chalk on. So it's everything you need to climb a hard boulder. It's pretty simple. Being here in the US, it's pretty relaxed. I'm on a 5-day training week. I take generally Wednesday and Sunday off, depending on how I feel. But then on a daily basis, it's pretty relaxed. Like I wake up at 8 or 9, get as much sleep as possible, drink a lot of coffee, talk with some mates, have some fun, and then off to the gyms for 2 sessions per day. The facilities here are phenomenal. There's a good support structure from the US Federation and just good people to climb with. Everybody's strong and motivated. Climbing is essentially face value a super physical sport, but as it kind of progresses, it becomes quite a mental challenge. Often you're physically capable to do the boulder or do the route, but you just don't have the mental strength to continue pushing through a bit of failure and a bit of suffering. It's quite refreshing as it kind of tests you as a person. Then with competition climbing. I think there's more of a mental battle within comp climbing. It's just so intense for such a short period of time. I often get a bit worked up and just need to really focus on keeping cool and staying calm about it. It's a huge honor to be representing South Africa at the Olympic Games. I'm very proud and excited to be doing it, but my big goal is just to really showcase climbing to South Africa and the African continent. So essentially that is my objective with the Olympics. Like, don't get me wrong, performance is a factor, but it's a developing sport and it needs as much help as it can get. And if I can just expose it to a million other kids, that's a job well done.
Incredibly, Erin Sterkenburg has been able to qualify for the Olympics with only 4 years' experience in the sport. Her loving parents, Ranel and Michael Sterkenburg, are also her biggest supporters.
I started climbing in grade 8 at my school, Westville Girls. They offer climbing as a sport, so I joined the school team. And then I got introduced to the climbing gym in Pinetown called Southern Rock, and I started going there and training all the time. And yeah, I pretty much just fell in love with the sport and continued on.
Erin's always shown an interest in climbing from when she was little. We used to caravan up in the Berg and there was a massive old gum tree that she used to climb.
I can remember her climbing everything in sight as well when she was small. Our whole family is very competitive. We're all very sporty, always have been. But I think Erin is extremely self-motivated and drives herself very hard.
We're always there to support her when she's climbing, and we're very blessed to have Erin as a daughter. She's a very committed young lady who gives her all. She spends most of her time climbing, and she's also a very dedicated scholar. And so we're absolutely in awe that we have a daughter who's going to the Olympics.
Living in KZN affords Erin with a bounty of opportunity to climb outdoors, a crucial component to ensuring she is fit and equipped for Tokyo.
Because there's only a few days left before I leave for the Olympics, I really like to spend time with my family, but it is also important for me to climb outside, which is why we're here at the crag. It's called Magnetic Wall in Shongweni Valley, and we're going to do some outdoor climbing. It is very different to climbing inside just because obviously inside there's already grips on the wall, so you don't really have to figure out what to do as much as outside, whereas here, as you can see, it's just the rock. So you kind of problem solve about what sequences of climbing to use, I guess. And it's also just really fun, so I really like climbing outside. I really like both indoor and outdoor climbing. At the moment, I've been training mainly inside, obviously, because that's what the format is for the Olympics. But I enjoy the problem-solving aspect of climbing outside, and when I have a bit more free time, I'll definitely be climbing outside more.
Helping Erin ensure she is sufficiently prepared for the Tokyo Games is her coach, James Barnes, who was inspired by her climbing from the first time he saw her.
Erin surprised me as a youth athlete. She came in with a lot of hesitation based on her own performance, but once we started spending a bit more time in, she started really tapping into a different side of her climbing. She definitely climbs a lot harder than most females in the country, and she's only 18.
Being able to represent one's country would be an honor for anyone, and it's certainly not something that most 18-year-olds can say they've had the opportunity to do.
I'm so excited to just be inside the Olympic Village and also to be able to compete with the other climbers that are going to be there because they're all amazing climbers. So to be able to compete against them is going to be really cool. I'm definitely nervous about the Olympics, but excited too. I try not to think about it too much. I think I'm going to wait until I get there and then obviously realize, but it still isn't my brain isn't 100% convinced I'm going. Sometimes I forget and then I'm like, oh, I am actually going to the Olympics. So I'm really excited to be able to compete and hopefully I will make people at home proud. It's still really crazy that I get to be the person that represents, well, along with Chris, obviously, represents South Africa and Africa. I'm really honored that I get the opportunity and I'm really excited to just go to the Olympics and learn as much as possible and to come back and be able to share my experiences and knowledge with everyone here.
With South Africa being one of only 8 African countries in the International Federation of Sport Climbing, Christopher Cosser and Erin Sterkenburg are pioneers of the sport, and we can't wait to watch them make us proud. Next on the Insider SA, Hear how three friends have made veldskoenne the official off-field shoe of South African Olympians. First made by Dutch settlers in the 17th century, veldskoenne are a part of South Africa's history. Recently, however, when Nick Dreyer and Ross Zondag enlisted the help of an old school friend and digital marketing expert, the traditional shoes have been upgraded into exciting modern fashion.
Ross and I were having a conversation in a car, as we had done many times as friends, and we had this discussion around what the South African team could have been wearing at the previous Olympics to look more South African and more connected to South Africa. And I think Ross said they could have been wearing veldskoenne, and I said that veldskoenne just weren't cool enough. And then in that conversation, we realized that there was a treatment of veldskoenne that could be improved, and that is how it was born. Nick joined us very shortly afterwards because we had to take this idea to the world, and we had done so but received mostly ridicule. Having been a builder and an art dealer, trying to start a shoe company is ridiculous at best of times. So we roped in Nick, and he was the first guy that didn't laugh at the idea, but mostly saw the potential in the product and saw that there was something to be said about this brand and the story about veldskoenne. So that's how it started. It was an accident.
What we did is we came in and we gave it a whole new spin, and we took the shoe and we made it for everybody by giving it colored soles and telling a completely different story. We had ballerinas wearing a pair of veldskoenne on social media, and it changed the perception of the shoe, and it opened it up to a much wider audience, and it opened it up to a global audience.
Friends is quite a...
It's a strong word.
It's a strong word.
Yeah.
Friends is
a strong term. We've known each other for a long time, and we're now forced together. There's nothing we can do about it. But no, we actually all went to the same high school together. Ross, myself, and Nick all attended Pretoria Boys High.
And I think Boys High taught us not to take ourselves too serious. We're able to challenge each other because we were afraid to challenge each other at school. So having that history has definitely aided us in the business.
And then I think we also, three of us are very entrepreneurial, and that's quite interesting to have not just one entrepreneur in the business driving the business. I think we're all very entrepreneurial, and what's really important to us is to teach the rest of the team and allow everybody in the team to be entrepreneurial. And what's come out of that is that we've had two businesses that have sprouted out of veldskoenne.
Well, if you count Anna's podcast, it's three.
It's three, actually, you're right, it's three. Yeah. And we think that's amazing because we're all entrepreneurs, and why wouldn't we want anybody else to be the same?
Yeah.
Every year we have our heritage range of veldskoen. This was the first range in our group of products, and it's kind of like an all-season, winter, summer, right through the year kind of shoe. All our leather is treated with a hydrophobic treatment, which means that you don't have to avoid puddles. You can actually step right into them. The water will literally just run off the leather and your feet will remain dry. Prince Harry have been seen wearing our shoes. He's a fan. And then we have been incredibly blessed by having Ashton Kutcher as a shareholder in our American business. And besides being a shareholder, he actually loves the shoes, specifically our pink, the Uhambu veldskoen, and the red, the Pinotage.
One of the big reasons we stand out is because we've always been open to collaboration. And we've had major collaborations that have helped us along the way. Like any startup, you're always going to struggle for marketing, you're always going to struggle for funding, etc., etc. But when you join forces with great brands, then you share that equity and you also share the audiences. And I think Nick has guided us along that way. And I think we've picked really amazing people and brands and concepts like the Olympics.
A full circle journey has seen them selected as our official off-field Olympic shoe, and veldskoenne will be worn by our Olympic and Paralympic athletes at this year's opening ceremony.
Probably a year and a half ago, we were thinking, like, how are we going to get this done?
Yeah, how do you do this?
How do you do this? How do you make it happen? And I said to Nick, let's just put a video out onto Facebook asking South Africa to help us. And I think a day later...
2 days later, Ravi, the CEO of SASCOC, phoned and said, I heard that you're looking for me. But to their credit, they'd embraced the idea as well, which was to invite local businesses to participate meaningfully in the SASCOC mission, which was to really make our athletes feel amazing when they go to the Olympics. So we're looking forward to the opening ceremony, and we're looking forward to our athletes just in their casual wear wearing veldskoene and plakkie, our flip-flops.
Augmenting their Olympic efforts, Donovan Copley is the perfect fit as their ambassador in the world of music. He's the frontman of South African musical export Hot Water, a band who are vibrant, colourful and proud of their heritage.
The first time I met the guys, I was in a particularly fierce and creative mood. I was like, guys, I can see that you are highly inspired individuals and I want to do something like amazing and adventurous and kind of almost impossible with you.
Brother of successful actor Shalto Copley, Donovan loves tackling exciting new projects, and that's how he got his own brand and band started.
Someone brought this guitar to me many years ago and didn't really know what to do with it. It was kind of a bit of a cliche, I think in general at the time, but certainly to me. So I kind of hung it on my wall and I was like, all right. And a year later, we started touring overseas, this is about a decade ago. And so, yeah, then I started using it at shows for like 1 or 2 songs until it's swallowed the whole thing, and now I pretty much only use this guitar. Sacha Baron Cohen bought 4 from me. I gave 1 to Passenger, then he gave 1 to Ed Sheeran, just to name drop a little bit. I sent 1 to Adam Sandler to say thanks for putting my song in his film, and he sent me a picture saying thanks a million for the guitar, and he loves it. So. What I love about veldskoen is the colourfulness, the South Africanness, the adventure. You know that feeling when you get like a new pair of shoes and you just feel like you can almost do anything, you know? And I remember the start of a song that I'd written many years before, and I finished the song, and it's a song called New Shoes, and it expresses that sense of adventure and that feeling of sort of being unstoppable.
I want to tell you an incredible story. I want to take you to a place I know well, where everybody knows the heart of the story, where everybody has a story to tell. With my new shoes, get me there.
I think what's happening in this brand, what's happening with the story of veldskoen is so much greater than just the 3 of us. I think this has become something that South Africa is taking ownership of, and I think it's the sum of its parts, and it's the sum of those incredible suppliers, our unbelievable creative team, but also partners like Sascock, and everybody that's just getting stuck into this thing that feels as if veldskoen belongs to them. And the truth is, it does.
Next on the Insider SA, see how our national water polo teams are preparing for the Olympics, and learn how Capitec are assisting a duo making a career out of sailing.
Sponsored by Capitec. Simplify banking. Live better.
The fittest, fastest and strongest among us have been training in various sporting disciplines to be ready for the Tokyo Summer Olympics. Among those are the proud members of the men's and women's South African water polo teams.
South African ladies water polo has always been invited to the World Champs. We've been to a few World Cups. We've been to some Euro Nation tournaments. We've never been to an Olympic Games, ever, in South African history. So this is a huge accomplishment for ladies. The matches are going to be really tough. So it's just trying to keep the morale up and keep us fighting from start to finish of each game.
Megan Celino is the vice-captain of the women's team and the head coach of the first team at St. Anne's Diocesan College, and was part of the SA ladies team that went to the Commonwealth Games in Perth.
It's been a good, long journey. It's been a lot of time and effort from my part. In 2018, I decided to have a baby. Getting back after having a baby was tough. I didn't think I would be able to get back to where I was. And with a lot of help from my husband and my teammates in my sports department, I just kept chipping away slowly, and slowly but surely we got there, and we got to December camp last year, and I swam my swim test times better than I'd ever swum before.
The South African men's team finished 12th out of 16 teams at the 2019 World Aquatic Championships. Their last Olympic appearance saw them place 9th, but that was 60 years ago. Captain and goalie Lwazi Madi is feeling confident about this new opportunity.
We are a men and women team going to the Tokyo Games, but together we have formed a formidable force as the first African contenders in the Olympics for a long time. So we are very excited and we are hoping to make an impact at these Olympic Games.
I've been watching Lwazi play. Obviously, we're a bit different in age, so I've watched him play when he was still at school. He was at St. Stithians in Gauteng, so I was coaching another girls' team at tournaments, and I got to watch him play, and he was phenomenal in the goals, like a force, like a brick wall.
Lwazi found himself trying out for the water polo team in high school after hot summer temperatures discouraged him from going to cricket trials. Little did he know avoiding the heat would shape his future.
I started playing water polo when I was in grade 6. And how it worked at my school, which I think is similar to any other school, is our summer sport trials ran on the same day. Slightly after swimming trials, there was water polo trials, and I immediately gravitated to the idea of combining swimming and what seemed like football in my perspective, and I just fell in love with the sport after that. My training has been quite rigorous leading up to this point in our training schedule. So normally what happens is I train twice a day, every single day, once early in the morning and the second time in the afternoon where I train with my university teammates and some of my other SA teammates. So my whole training regime is quite rigorous, but it's helped me reach a pinnacle level of my sporting career, and it's definitely something that you need to be diligent with and hardworking with.
I've definitely found that a mobility session before I jump in, just moving, getting the body moving, muscles warming up. It's nice to just have that dry land thing. Also, it gets you into the zone for a match, all of that kind of stuff. Then you get in and you do your pool warm up, and then you take your next steps from there. So your hips are really important, your shoulder joints really important, knees are another big one. A lot of polo players struggle with those main areas with injuries. So just getting through, moving through the motions, not really staying still in one movement for too long, just making sure that everything's waking up on its own. So making sure all these big and small muscles are getting nice and warmed up, especially if you've had a hard week of training.
Our team is quite young. We have a lot of players who are students at university who are studying. I think our oldest player is 40 and our youngest player is 19, so the youth range is quite significant, but it gives us an opportunity to share experiences and to guide the younger players into performing well. The ability to go to the Olympics is a childhood dream of many, so hopefully this experience will show people that the door is open for new areas to explore and hopefully increase the popularity of the sport. My expectations for the team is to be competitive. It is our first games after all, so we really want to make a good impression out there to show the world that as South Africans we can compete against them, and we are here to compete and we are here to show up and we are here to show the world that SA Water Polo is back.
It's one of the highest honors to represent one's country doing what you love. We wish the SA women's and men's water polo teams the very best as they train hard to do us proud at this year's Olympics. The Tokyo Olympics will feature 10 events of Olympic sailing between 25th July and 3rd August. Meanwhile, back at home, a dynamic duo are proving that yachting and sailing is a viable career and leisure option beyond the professional sport. They are offering the training and certification needed to make this a reality.
My name's Adrian, this is Haley. Welcome to Longabon.
We started crewing together on a super yacht, and from there our like for each other developed, I suppose. And we traveled and worked together for 3 or 4 years. And after that, we decided we'd like to come back to South Africa, settle down, have our family and the sport of our family. Atlantic Yachting offers a wide range of sailing courses, specifically aimed at the youngsters that want to go work on international yachts overseas, and then also for our recreational sailor that just wants to learn how to sail locally. Over and above that, we also offer many other courses that are really attractive on the cruise CVs when they're looking for work overseas.
We teach sailing and then we give the guys life skills. They leave us really understanding how to be part of a team. That's very important, and I see them getting their certification, but they're very competent and wanting to get out there and sail and use what they've got, and for me that's amazing. We started off with one yacht, we hired it, and then now we have 4, and each 3 years we added another yacht, but managing carefully not to grow too big and looking after our clients, making sure they're happy, managing the instructors and seeing people achieving what they came for and leaving with proper skills, life skills, and going into the world understanding what they're doing.
We were approached many years ago by an agent from Capitec. He came along and explained to us what services he could offer our business. We attend boat shows every year, and we decided the one year that we'd like to have a credit card machine there so that when we're offering promotions and good prices on the day, if you pay for your course, and it would be nice to have a pay point there. So we were lucky enough to get a Capitec credit card machine, and that worked really well for us.
The benefits of making use of Capitec Payment Solutions is we design products according to the business owner's needs, taking reliability into account. The product will change as the business expands and diversifies. Atlantic Yachting, we're making use of our point-of-sale mobile device. The business needs change, so we've introduced our MPOS solution. The MPOS device allows instant card payments as well as QR transactions.
The service has been great. We have just recently upgraded to a tap and go machine, and it's a smaller machine, and we could also save quite a lot of money because we were changing from one unit to another unit, paying per purchase as opposed to paying a full-time monthly rental. So for our business that works well because we don't have a lot of walking customers, so we prefer to pay as we use the machine.
MPOS offers mobile payment solutions, so payments can be processed wherever you are. The device connects to your smart device via Bluetooth and is driven by the Capitec Merchant app. Payments are quick and easy because it's able to process chip, tap and go, and MasterPass QR transactions.
With business and payment solutions made simple by Capitec, this leaves the couple time to do what they do best: sail and teach.
We're sailing on a Lavranos yacht. We have 4 of the yachts. They're maneuverable, they have lots of accommodation, and sleeping arrangement is fantastic. The students learn to read the wind, they become efficient understanding the elements and become good sailors and powerboaters. And the area that we're in is really nice because you've got the calm seas, you've got the rough seas, you've got the clear waters to see, you've got the ports to go to, and the wildlife is amazing. It's exceptional now.
Perfect playground for us to teach sailing on.
The students really gain from becoming team players, which is vital for any work or anything they go into their future.
And these waters offer so many different varieties of conditions. We have calm seas, rough seas, amazing anchorages, tidal streams, shipping lanes, so we can really teach them a lot on this perfect playground. For me, I think the most amazing rewards have been seeing people come through the business and change through the skill of sailing.
The following program is sponsored by Capitec.